Hello, I am coming to you from a town where people take their civic responsibilities very seriously. And at every election, they vote early, they vote often, and they vote even after they're dead.
Chicago, Chicago, that toddling town.
Hey guys, I'm coming to you from a picnic area. It is 29 degrees now. It's a bit chilly, a bit nippy. So I'm going to talk about how to use your own quilt with the Zenbivy sheet, bed sheet. Now, let me give you some background in case you don't know what this is all about. When you go out camping, you can use a sleeping bag or a quilt. Now, sleeping bags, they're mummy style or rectangular style, and a quilt is just a blanket. You know, it's a rectangular piece of cloth. The thing with a sleeping bag is you get in it, you zip it up, and it fully encloses you. That means there are no holes or gaps where cold air can come in. With a quilt, because it's a rectangle, you have to kind of tuck it underneath you to close all the gaps, and that could be a problem. Now, a lot of people choose to sleep in or to use sleeping bags, which is fine, but some people can't sleep in the sleeping bag, particularly the mummy style ones. For side sleepers, mummy style is pretty much out. Rectangular can work, and like I'm a side sleeper and I toss and turn a lot, so I cannot use a mummy sleeping bag. It's just impossible for me. Rectangular sleeping bag works, and my cold winter sleeping bag for car camping, a Kodiak canvas, is actually a rectangular sleeping bag. It works very well. But for hiking, that's way too heavy. And even a down sleeping bag that's rectangular is going to be heavier than a quilt for the equivalent temperature. That's because when you sleep in a sleeping bag, all that sleeping bag that's underneath you that you sleep on, all that insulation is basically crushed, so it ceases to work. So you're carrying basically dead weight. You're carrying insulation that never helped you. That's why people went to quilts, because there's nothing underneath you. You could remove that layer totally, making the quilt lighter. And that's why I use it, for example, mainly because I'm a side sleeper. I can't sleep in a sleeping bag. It's also because it's lighter. Now, a quilt has its problems, and that is you have to tuck it in underneath you to close all the gaps so air doesn't come in. And that can be a problem. Now, quilts have solved most of these problems. For example, they have a foot box where that's all enclosed in. You can zip it up. Quilts have belts, you see right here, which allows you to attach them to the sleeping pad, so that encloses it. But still, from the waist up, you still have to tuck it in underneath you to close all those gaps where cold air can come in. So that's where the Zenbivy sheet comes in. It gives a solution to this by offering, let me show you, a sheet that has walls like this. So this is about 6 inches high, okay, and your quilt goes here. So it basically closes all the gaps, air gaps, so no air can come in. Now the Zenbivy sheet, as you can see, has little loops here, right there. And these are designed to hook on to the Zenbivy quilt, which has loops sewn onto the quilt itself. So you hook it on, and that keeps the quilt from moving. So it's always there. Now, it's a great idea, and it works. It's gotten a lot of good reviews, and I can see why. But you have to use the Zenbivy quilts with it. Now, for me, I have my own quilts. I have 3 quilts from Enlightened Equipment. So I've invested a lot of money. So I don't want to go buy another quilt. I'm pretty satisfied with my quilts. I have 10 degree, 30 degree, and 50 degree quilts, and I layer them to get various temperatures. You know, if I use all 3, I can go down to minus 30 degrees Fahrenheit with just 3 quilts. That's a different point. I have a modular system, as it's called. I layer quilts to achieve various temperatures. So I wanted to use a Zenbivy sheet, as you can see, with my own quilts. But my own quilts don't have the loops. So what's the solution? Well, the solution is there are 2. You can sew quilts, sew loops onto your own quilt, and that'll attach to the sheet. And that might work if you know what you're doing, if you know how to sew and not damage your quilt. I'm not that good, so I'm not going to do that. The problem with that, also with that solution, is you have to do it for every quilt you have, or you may purchase in the future. Well, there's a better way to do it where it works with any quilt or even sleeping bag or even blanket, like a fleece blanket, whatever. And that is to use straps, elastic straps with a little keyring at the end. And this you attach, let me show you, like this, to the quilt, to the sheet. Boom. And then you attach it to the other side, like this. There we go. Now I have a strap that's attached to here, and I can tension this strap. It's adjustable, right? Like that. Now this keeps the quilt tucked in, okay? I have 4 straps here. Let me attach them. There's 2. There's 3. And there's 4. Okay, wait, I did them out of order. There we go. Now, let me show you up close how this works. As you can see, here's the Zenbivy sheet, and this attaches to your sleeping pad like this. See? And here's my quilt, and I put it tucked it into the sheet, and I've used this elastic strap with the key rings to attach them to the hooks on the Zenbivy sheet. And let me show you from that side. Like this. So this allows the sheet to tuck in under there and not to move while I'm sleeping in there and tossing and turning. So, and this wall right here keeps all the gaps closed and the cold air from coming in. And here is where my head would go, okay? My pillow would go right there. And this kind of tucks over my head to give me some wind protection. So here's what it looks like. All right. So here I am. This is the way I would usually sleep, on my side. Like this. Now, I've got my quilt pressed against the wall here, tucked in, not tucked underneath me, and I don't feel any cold air coming in from either side, my left or right. So there you have it, folks. This thing works pretty well, the Zenbivy sheet, with your own quilt. all you have to do is just use elastic straps with key rings tied on at the end of them to hook the walls together over your quilt. This elastic strap, I got at Walmart for a couple of bucks for 16 feet, and key rings you can find anywhere. So, and this will work without having to modify your quilt, sew anything onto it. With any quilt, it'll work. And also you can layer your quilts, so you can have 2 or 3 quilts over you, and this will still work. Now this Zenbivy sheet comes in uninsulated, which is what this is, just nylon, or insulated. And the insulated ones have down, so it'll give you extra warmth if you want to buy that one. They come in 25 degrees and 10 degrees down fill. Now, for me, I don't think it's necessary because I already have my quilt to keep me warm. But if you want to buy the insulated one, that'll work. The uninsulated one, this one right here, costs $89 and weighs only 3 ounces. So it doesn't really add anything to your sleep system weight-wise. And it works. So there you have it, folks. You can use your own quilts with a Zenbivy sheet. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, like, and share, and see you next time.